Hello everyone and welcome to Vidane TV's coverage of the SIM500 Esports Racing League. This week it's Atlanta. Back on the East Coast swing, we roll south to the land of boiled peanuts, Atlanta, Georgia. Race number 6 of the 36 race season, and we come to a driver's track. This worn out surface makes for a track that drivers love to hate, and that makes for a good show. Welcome friends. Thanks for joining us for another round of the Transervice Monday Night Series. I'm Kevin England, and alongside, as always, I have our favorite Canadian, Mr. Timothy Terry. Down in the production booth, it's showtime. Paul Strickland Jr. working the cameras. And Tim, it's race time here for the Transervice Cup Series.
We covered last night's Sim Racing Unleashed show here on Vidane TV and with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series here last week. Kevin, it's not, we don't want to call it a dynamic track because it's not where it was the 4 or 5 years ago, but the groove is widened out. So we're going to see some great racing. We already see great racing with the Transervice Cup Series. We're going to see, I think, even better racing with this one as the pace car leads us around. It's going to be Pedro Mojica and the 39 at Daniel Falkingham. The rest of the lineup, you can follow along at the top of your screen, and we'll go racing here this time by.
Yeah, these drivers set up for 140 laps of action here on this worn-out surface. And, you know, this is one of those tracks that can bite you. You want to race the track, not so much the competition, but the restarts are going to be really challenging. Pace car is going to go in. It's going to be up to Pedro to kick it off, and he slams the throttle down as they head off to turn 1 for the first time. We're glad you're here to join us for Transervice Cup Racing.
Field rolls into corner number 1 and 2, and there goes the 81 already to the inside. The personal comfort number 81 of Adam Gilliland going to try to pick up position number 2 and look at the lead on Pedro Mojica. There is a driver, Kevin, that's won a couple of races, but has had a couple of races that he wants to forget about. I asked him last week about, there goes a slide from the 81 of Adam Gilliland. I asked him last week after the race, I said, do you want to talk? Oh, 1 in the wall, that's Trey Edson in the 5. Heavy smoke, heavy damage. That one, we're going to wreck a bunch of cars in behind it. Yellow flag is going to fly, and Kevin, I don't know if Trey just ran it into the wall in the dog leg or if he had help, but that was big.
That was huge. Big incident here on lap number 1 as Edson comes off of turn number 4, pancakes the right side against the wall, comes across sideways, and there is no place for the charging field to go. We have a big pileup here on the front straightaway.
Good opportunity to take a peek here at the Kong Beer Bong instant replay, and we're going to focus in on that 5 car running 4th up in that middle groove, and we can see there's the slide, the slip and slide there from Adam Gilland. Does a great job holding on to that thing. Definitely a loose race car here at Atlanta, and you can see the back end of the car coming out of the corner, comes out from underneath them, and you can see just kind of tries to overcorrect it a little bit too much, and Trey Edson just kind of slams into the outside wall there, collects another gaggle of cars. There you see the 30, the 95, the 29 spinning around, the 44 Transervice Cup car comes through. There's Joey Jettina in the 14. He gets a good piece of it. The 43, the 24, the 31. Lots of tore-up race cars here. That may very well lighten the field up here on lap number 1.
Yeah, Tim, one of the stories of this setup is that it's a little bit loose, especially on cold tires coming up off the corner. It looks like the car just stepped out. And unfortunately, it was Donnie Leah in that outside lane. They were 3 wide coming off, and he just had no place to go, plowed right in the back of them.
And we're not used to seeing, you mentioned 2 names that are really big in this Transervice Cup Series. We're not used to seeing those small little miscues early in the race, especially from those two. But it's Paul mentioned it's going to shake the field up, and definitely it is going to. The top 3, top 4 got through that scot-free, and then everybody else in behind either had to dodge or do something to get around it. I'll complete the point that I was trying to make on Adam Gilliland before that wreck happened. I talked to Adam last week in the middle of the week, and I asked him about the luck that he's had in the Cup Series, and he just kind of said, I don't want to talk about it. He's one of those drivers that is always positive. He's a former winner in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, a winner in the Pro Series, and he's one of those drivers that usually wears his heart on his sleeve, and you could tell that Adam's been a little bit dejected the last couple of weeks, but he is a champion. He will rebound, and right now he's got a clean race car through that. He's dodged a lot of bullets. We're going to have a couple of cars that are down and out of the race because of what happened there, but Adam was solid. He was charging in that first couple of laps and got on the apron, got it a little sideways, so I think he'll park that and maybe have something for Pedro Mojica in the rest of this field.
Yeah, and the bad news is that a couple of the, like you said, big names got caught up here. This is not the way they wanted to roll into Atlanta. A lot of drivers really like this track. It's one of those tracks that mentally you're in the game the whole way, trying to figure out the best way to move forward and navigate and gain time. And to be crashed on lap number 1 and right around here with damages, well, that's a tough one.
The field has doubled up in behind the iRacing pace car, the brand new iRacing sedan, and side by side in behind. We'll get ready to see the green flag fly one more time. There's the 39 on the outside of Daniel Falkingham. Daniel has had a couple of close calls trying to get this thing into victory lane. He hasn't been there yet, but I would believe that tonight might be the night. Great qualifying effort for the number 39. Going to start on the outside of row number 1 with Pedro Mojica there. And how about Tyler Dalton? Tyler dodged what was there. He's currently in position number 3 in the 19 car. Haven't seen the great qualifying effort out of the 19 since Daytona, where he started on the outside of the front row, or on the front row, and sitting in 3rd right now. He's got the great qualifying effort. We'll see if he can turn it into a great race run.
Yeah, tonight the drivers had to qualify their way in on speed. Everybody, no guaranteed starting spot. Everybody had to run in, and Dalton's been one of those drivers that's had to qualify in every week. This time he could come right in, qualified up front, and the good news for him is he knows how to run up front. 2020 he had a lot of good runs, and here he is running 3rd as they head off into turn number 1. And let's see if we can get a good clean lap here.
You would have to think that everybody is kind of on pins and needles after lap number 1, Kevin. And we saw the twitchiness out of the 81 of Adam Gilliland down to 3 and 4 on the first lap of this race. And then what happened in behind him. 3 wide already in behind with Kevin Brown in the middle. I believe that might be the 99 of Ryan to the outside, Byron Daly to the inside, and Tyler Dalton way up the racetrack ahead of them. Jose Gonzalez a part of this. This is a product of this package that iRacing released here a couple of weeks ago in the brand new build. You're going to see this. You're going to see the groove widening out, but you're going to get everything that you can on a restart. That's not new.
Yeah, 3 wide, and I see Justin Fuller trying to poke his nose around the outside of Kevin Brown. Not a lot of room there in that position. They're really tight, packed in there. We looked at Adam Gilliland on that first one. You ride that white line. You ride the paint. But what I think he did was just tap the apron, and the good news for him is he was able to collect that car. Everybody looks clean and green right now. Is this typical pattern that you see, Tim, is they're bunched up in the beginning, and then after about 4 laps, they tend to space out.
Pedro Mojica, you see him on the inside of that shot. He's been going back and forth with Daniel Falkingham for the lead. Falkingham going to take the advantage, but Pedro almost had that car step away from him out of corner number 2 the last time by. He had himself a handful. Joey Bailey is now in behind the leader, Daniel Falkingham. He is a couple laps down after not being in the server for a couple of laps, Kevin. So the rookie Joey Bailey's got some work to do, but this is the battle right now for what is second, because there is Tyler Dalton as they battle up for that runner-up spot.
Yeah, Bailey looked so close to Falkingham, it looked like he had a tow hitch hooked to the front of the car there as Dalton goes down underneath him and is going to slide into that second slot on the racetrack, about 3 car lengths back from Daniel Falkingham, who's had a good start to this race, gets out. He gets enough space behind him where when he drives up off the corner, he doesn't even have to look in the rearview mirror. He just has to hit his marks. As he comes up out of turn number 2, a good, steady car. Like last week we saw, let's see how Falkingham lasts on these long runs.
This middle of the pack battle is going to be exciting as we play out throughout this race. Here's some drivers that have had some up and down starts to this 2021 season. There is the number 2 on your screen of Mike Kelly. In behind him, I see Richard Beasley there, the 99 of Tommy Ryan, Jose Gonzalez. And this is a battle right now around that 10th, 11th, 12th place position. In behind the 12 there to the upside as well. And you're starting to see some drivers here, Kevin, albeit early in the race. These drivers dodged the wreck in front of them. They picked up a bunch of positions. Now it's a time to try to figure out really what your car has and maybe settle in. We're expecting this thing to go green.
Yeah, this track is feast or famine, and it is known to get a lot of good long green flag runs. And right now, if these drivers settle in and just find their grooves, the good news is down in turn 1 and 2, there's plenty of space to race up high, down low, wherever you want to be. Usually they get things sorted out. They can run side by side through 3 and 4, and these drivers they have that air. You can just look at it, Tim, where they seem to be comfortable now. They're settled in and they're making laps. As soon as I say that, here comes Mike Kelly around on the front stretch.
And there's the yellow. and they're still wrecking. Josh Williams is hurt. Oh, Richard Beasley's in there. The Tiger is cleaning up.
Was that the broadcast accursed? I don't know.
It's one or the other, but Beasley looks like he has minimal damage to that car. We'll back it up and we'll have the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. And oh boy, Paul, was that all by himself?
You got to look at the 19.
We got to take a look at the 10 of Richard Beasley first, because that definitely wasn't very clean of him there. But we're going to take a peek at the number 10. We're going to focus in. We're going to take a nice wide-angle shot here, and we're going to focus in the number 10 of Richard Beasley. And you can see he gets down in the corner, and it does. Okay, it's not by himself, so that's good news. It's just unfortunate circumstances, and it actually doesn't look like Beasley hit anything there. Right, as soon as I say that, he hits a car. So there's a little bit of damage on the 10 car, but we're going to back this up, and we're going to take a look at Tyler Dalton here, and it looks like that battle that we saw a little earlier on seems to have come to a head here, and you can see the 19 gets into the corner, and it almost looks like he loses the corner, loses the back end of the race car. He chasing a loose race car all the way up to the wall, tries to correct it, and does his best to get that thing out of the racing groove, but unfortunately comes right down. And there you can see Beasley trying to avoid the 19, and gets caught up with a couple of other cars. And you can hear the calamity ensue. Mike Kelly involved, the 5 car involved once again. There you can see the number 2 sitting there on pit row. There's some black smoke out there. We're going to take one more look at it here from the chopper. We'll do a little slow motion because there's a lot of things that happen here. We're going to take one more quick peek at it. Just to kind of show exactly what happens. And it looks like pit road already a busy place here on lap 15, but there you can see the contact between the 2 and the 19 and just a couple of other drivers. Unfortunate circumstances. A lot of torn up race cars here so far in the first 15 laps, and boys, it's looking like pit road's a busy place.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers are going down to the hammer. They're going to get those cars beat out. The good news for them is the pace lap takes a long time here, plenty of time to work on a car, but I have to say, Tim, I would not have expected this much attrition this early on.
Especially with the way these drivers have run this season, Kevin. We've seen a lot of green flag racing, but on the opposite side of the coin, it doesn't matter what racing series you are, whether it is the NASCAR Cup Series or whether it's your local short track, you're going to have nights that are bad or start off slow, and it just happens to be one of these nights as Daniel Falkingham leads his field around under caution.
Yeah, we're working lap number 13, is it? And a quarter of the field has already had contact with about 6 cars out. So that's unusual for this season. We've been pretty clean and pretty steady. So a lot of attrition here early in the Atlanta race. I ran this track twice this week, and I can tell you that, and I said in the opening, in order to run fast, you run on a ragged edge. You literally are running at the extent of the tires. And at any given point, for no particular reason, the car just hops out sideways. And you got to kind of not panic and collect it. But if you're up near the wall, just the way the 19 was, well, unfortunately, you're going to bang into it. Once you're into it, sometimes it's just hard to get the thing straightened out.
And with this racetrack, it's a lot of these drivers would have ran the open races last week. I know Road to Pro was here on Thursday night. You would have had some experience on this racetrack, or at least with this brand new package that we have. So maybe it is some drivers still trying to learn and trying to race around the clean air and the dirty air. And Paul, I'll bring you in because we saw it last night with the dirty air with Mark Whitley going to Victory Lane in the Sim Racing Unleashed show. But the clean air really played a factor in that race. So maybe it's these guys maybe trying to learn a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, and it's one of those things where you really can't race anybody around you. You have to race the racetrack. You have to, as weird as it sounds, you have to race the air here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The surface, it's like a cheese grater. We've heard that. I think that was your terminology from last night's Sim Racing Unleashed race. It's you really have to kind of pay attention to what the car's doing on the track, and once you get used to that, that's when you start to kind of factor in what everybody else is doing. And I think there it seems like there's a little bit of frustration in the air here tonight, but cooler heads are going to prevail. This kind of gives the drivers an opportunity to sit back, relax, take a nice cold drink of Coca-Cola or whatever they may or may not be drinking here in this race, kind of cool off a little bit. And we do have a couple of cars that are kind of on pit road that are going to be slower in the pack, so not as many cars here to worry about. So we'll see. Clean air is definitely going to be a big factor. We'll see who's going to get it front and who's going to make it work.
I think one of the stories, Tim, is that this is going to provide an opportunity for a couple of those drivers, as some of our big name drivers have taken a lot of hits here, and I think we're going to see some unusual drivers in the top 10 in this one. Going back to green after caution number 2, pace car is in, and we are working lap number 17. As the field comes across the stripe, Falkingham once again leads the charge. He's got Adam Gilliland running second, 33 of Byron Daly sits there on the high side third, and here comes Mojica with the charge on the bottom.
Interested to see what Pedro Mojica can do, because I think he was kind of learning the package a little bit on that first little run that we had of green, and kind of slipped away a little bit. Car got away from him on one of those corners, so I think he's kind of learning a little bit of that. I know he runs a busy life and doesn't have a whole lot of time to hop on and do a lot of laps, so I think that's one of the cases of trying to learn this package and learn this race car and the setup as well, because this is a fixed setup cup league, so still trying to learn that as well. Adam Gilliland is going to go to the top of the board. You see him make the move on the 39 of Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham a little bit sideways at a corner number 2, and here comes Byron Daly. Daly says it's time to move the Valvoline. Number 33 goes to the inside, and we may have a change for the lead one more time as Adam Gilliland is under fire.
Gilliland's able to stretch it out as we're starting to see some drivers come forward. See Scott Simley running in that 9th position, the Verizon car. His teammate unfortunately got caught up in the event earlier as Jeff Ryan takes a peek underneath him in the number 3. But up front, they are on the gas here. I would have thought some of these drivers might have played the long run and saved some of their tires, but they really are charging up through here as they see Josh Parker side by side.
And Josh Parker moving his way up. You see the 3 of Ryan on your screen, the 12 of Simley. There's the 43 of Doug Roth. He had a decent run going last week in our last Transervice Cup Series race, so I think he's kind of learning this package and kind of getting that too, but within the top 10 or striking distance of the top 10 as they battle on the opposite end that Adam Gilliland currently leads around this racetrack. Looking at almost 3 wide up there with Kyle Taraska in the 18 car, just around that top 5 position. There's some moves being made here within the top 10. There's the 33 of Byron Daly, right around where it's kind of calmed down. And lo and behold, we mentioned 3 wide, and there's Josh Parker.
Yellow flag on the speedway as the field comes down the back straightaway here, and we're going to go under caution one more time in Atlanta. Incident involving the 22, I believe, over in turns 1 and 2.
One more Kong and beer bong instant replay. Sorry to cut you off there, Tim, but looks like the 22 Verizon car. These Verizon cars not having too much luck here tonight, and we'll take a look, see what went down here, and we'll do the old slow motion. And Tim, didn't mean to cut you off there. You want to finish off that thought?
No, I was just going to introduce the replay, but you got her covered.
Nailed it. hopefully the sponsors are okay with it. Cool to have them on board. Kong.2drunk.net if you want to check out that little party favor. They work very well. It's a good opportunity to get a lot of beer or whatever you're drinking down very, very quickly. So I am a big fan. And there you can see the 55 kind of comes up into the wall and scrapes, bounces back down into the 22. We get one spin and then a shot, and by the 99, Tommy Ryan. There you can see the 24. Great job getting down low. There's Richard Beasley avoiding. So it looks like it's just a 22 here of Nelson Rivera and the 99 of Tommy Ryan involved. There you can see the 44 Transervice Cup car. Glenn Campbell doing a great job avoiding all these wrecks here so far this evening. So it's great to see that just a two-car deal here tonight, and just it seems like a lot of drivers still kind of trying to fight the setup just a little bit here. It's definitely a slick racetrack here, so we'll see what we can do here. Work on lap number 24.
This has got to shake the confidence of some of these drivers. You know, as we talk about how to race this racetrack, one of the things that I saw, the 55 coming off of the tri-oval, coming up to turn one of the things you do there, Tim, is try to sweep up high to the outside wall so that you can arc and float the car in. And it just looks like maybe he misjudged or something was wrong, clipped the apron, but it looked like the car shot across the track and brushed the wall.
Yeah, it's an early incident in this race. These drivers still trying to feel out their race cars, and I hate to bring the cautions breed cautions deal in. You can use whatever cliche you want to, but slow start, slow pace to this one. The familiar faces, though, Kevin, always seem to come to the front of the field, and you look at the drivers that are up here: Falkingham, Parker, Adam Gilliland, Kyle Tarasca's up here, Byron Daly, Pedro Mojica. There's some familiar names near the front of this field. So it might be a slow start to this race, but I think we're going to see a battle here once we get some green flag laps in.
Yeah, one of the other things we have going on is just a couple drivers that we have not seen in the series. They've been lurking, and they made the race this week. That 55 Frank Peacock, he was one of those drivers who got involved in that. But you know, it's also one of those dynamics, Tim, where you got to learn who you're racing with. And for some of these drivers, they got to get used to the cadence of this event and the drivers around them.
Absolutely, and new car, new widened groove here at Atlanta, new track surface per se. When it comes to the build, there's all kinds of different things that were thrown at these drivers. Some of them have had more laps in this Cup car than others. Some of them, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, with a guy like Pedro Mojica that might not have a whole lot of time to hop on, but can hop on Monday night, and obviously we know he's got the talent to do so, and you just get those differing strategies once we hit these next couple of races and these drivers get comfortable with this build. And in no way, Kevin, are we making excuses for these guys, but once they get a couple of races in with this car and the way it feels, it might be a better product. But we've seen some fantastic races this year. Eventually you get to a point where there's a bad run in there, and I think we're seeing that. Hopefully they use it all up tonight before next week.
Yeah, and the possibility is they're going to use it all up here early. And I'll tell you what, this track scares me to death when you run side by side with somebody. My strategy to race here couldn't run with this Cup Series because of the fact that they run side by side, door to door every lap. I like to get somebody out, and then once I get comfortable, I run up to them and make a predictable pass. So make no bones about it. It's complicated running this sim. You know, you're running on the ragged edge outside of somebody, and every single mistake means that the 7 drivers who are right behind you are going to have to somehow avoid or get away from what you have. And I saw Stefan Marinick in the number 24 just brush, the number 99, I think, was involved in that. And it's just, everything happens so fast here, Tim.
Absolutely, it does, but I think we're going to get ready to go fast here. The pace car lights are off, field is doubled up, and we're going to see some green flag racing. I just have a feeling. I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're going to see some green flag racing here and get these drivers in some green flag laps as the pace car is going to peel off. Adam Gilliland in the personal comfort number 81 to the inside. Daniel Falkingham in the Lobster 207-39 to the outside. Green flag flies. We are back underway.
Looks like Falkingham didn't get a great start to the outside. That's going to allow Adam Gilliland to streak away. He's going to have a good run down on the bottom. Josh Parker going to follow him through, take over that second position. Walkingham now recovering with a good run to the outside. He's going to tuck into third as Taraska and Byron Daly running side by side there, battling for that fourth position.
And there's the 33 of Daly now to the outside, the 18 of Taraska to the inside. Falkingham stalking the 23 of Josh Parker. They work together on team name. I believe they're teamed up with Bill Schoonover this year for the team championship. And now they go side by side for position number 2. And for the most part, you kind of look behind on some of those wide shots. The field has got single file for the most part. A couple of drivers looking to the inside line, looking to make those moves, but single file. Field's kind of migrated to the outside. And now we got that battle once again for position number 2. Byron Daly is on the move.
Daly to the number 23, right on his outside, trying to make the run. And, you know, this is one of those momentum tracks, too, that once you get a run, you really don't want to give it up. If you could squirt down to a lower line, higher line, and try to get an advantage on the corner in front of you, you don't want to waste it. As the 33 a little bit sideways coming up out of the corner, that's going to cause him to slow up. Falkingham's going to fill that slot into third, go on the attack as Bailey trying to recover over here in 3 and 4. Slow car down on the apron, going to head to pit road, no problem there for our leader, as here comes the 23 peeking to the bottom on Gilliland.
Starting to make that move in behind the 39 of Falkingham, waiting for his opportunity as you ride on board with the 23 of Parker, working down the back, trying to close in on that personal comfort number 81. And we saw it last night when we covered the Sim Racing Unleashed race here at Atlanta, Kevin, and once you get up to the back bumper, you kind of have that dirty air, that bubble around the race car, so you kind of have to set up that move and kind of make it work and make it stick in a way it's going to. Parker gets a run, goes to the outside, Gilliland goes to the inside, can't make it work here. We'll see if he can have any move or any momentum here off 2.
These drivers can run about 60 laps or so on a fuel run, but your tires don't last that long. And one of the things they have to be conscientious is if you do get a long run, you can easily wear that right front out, that right rear out. So these drivers, while they're trying to make time, have to be very careful about how hard they drive in. When they come right here into turn number 1, there's a little bit of a bump in the middle of the track. You usually try to go high or go low around that bump, because if you hit the bump when the car comes down, puts a lot of pressure on that right front wheel, and you end up wearing that right front out, and that is no bueno here because the car doesn't turn. Now, I'll tell you what, Byron Daly, he is on the move here tonight, just giving no quarter. When he gets a chance at a run, he's going to try it.
And we're used to seeing Byron Daly run strong, but going out in front and dominating every single lap is not really his forte. He's calculated. He's an engineer by trade, so he knows that you don't have to be up front and lead every single lap to lead the last one, because that's when the pay window opens at the end of this race. So Byron running fourth behind this battle for the lead, and Parker trying to set it up, goes to the inside, but can't get that run there. You really have to make that move, and I don't want to say storm and be aggressive and try to make that move, but you really have to time it right, because you look at the gap now between first and second. It's no longer a battle for first. It's a battle for second because Falkingham's there.
Yeah, the bad news is a run that does not pan out ends up typically costing you time on the racetrack, because you have to ease out and come back in line. And if somebody's right behind you, they're going to take advantage of that run too. As I see the side-by-side battles just continued, and some of these drivers coming forward. Pedro Mojica started up front, went a little bit further deep into the field. He's running 10th right now, but I see him starting to come forward. That car feels like it's waking up.
Yeah, starting to wake up and starting to come to life a little bit, but we saw that kind of on the first run, Kevin, where he fell back just a little bit and was able to pick up a couple of spots, and the car looked evil. It looked dead sideways for a couple laps, and now he's to the outside. And how about the run by the 08 of Thomas O'Leary? He's up here battling in the top 10.
Yeah, nice run for O'Leary early here in Atlanta as Mojica. And he's on slice and dice mode right now. He's cutting, like working in the deli. He's carving high, carving low, right down on that white line, and he's driven up to 5th place.
Yeah, great run this evening for him, and continuing to work up, goes to the inside of the 33 of Byron Daly, the 18 of Kyle Taraska, right in behind. There's another driver that we don't usually see until the end of these races, Kevin. Almost like a Byron Daly, but he's got that personal comfort car tuned up and looking for a top 5 run if he can get by the guys in front of him that are on your screen right now, battling side by side for 5th, and it might be 3rd, as here comes the 39 of Falkingham into the picture, and Pedro Mojica is on the move.
He's almost to the front wheel, and now they're matched bumper to bumper. He's got the preferred line down low, and he's got a good run. He's going to drive into 3rd position, clear Falkingham, and yep, talk about waking up. The lights are on that number 58. That car is coming forward. And Pedro took over 194 points. The point lead this week is over Josh Williams, who was involved in that first incident. Josh Williams slips to 2nd. Kyle Taraska 3rd in points. Falkingham and Josh Parker round out your top 5 here as we've completed 5 races of this 36 race season. And tell you what would make Pedro happy, not only leading the points, but getting his first win for the season. He looks pretty strong here tonight at Atlanta.
But still plenty of laps to get it done. We've got over 100 laps to go, and these drivers are still trying to figure out their lanes and trying to figure out what they have. We haven't had, and I don't want to jinx it, we haven't had a long run yet. So these drivers don't know really what it's going to take to get there on a long run. The fuel window is about 65 laps. At the very end, Kevin, it might be a little bit more because we've had those cautions, but these drivers up in front are just past, I would say, that halfway mark on the fuel and the tires, or at least what you would want to run, as these drivers are continuing to put on a good show. And we're starting to see a little bit of that separation in the top 5.
We're taking a look at Kevin Brown running in that 8th position right now as he comes down the backstretch. Let's go for a lap with Kevin Brown as he rolls around here in 3 or 4. We'll tell you a little bit about the dynamics of this racetrack. Coming up out of 4 to start the lap, he's going to let the car sweep up high to the fence, look up in the mirror, see if anybody's got the charge, cross the line, come down to the white. As he rolls up high to the fence, going to arc the car down. You turn in here, you really would like to get to the bottom as you turn off, but sometimes the car will want to drift high. The good news is you can use the racetrack wherever you want. 1 lane off the wall, but you'll squeeze up to the wall for your arc in. A lot of times you run the car hard in and then you let off and just let it roll around the center. Once the car takes a set, you step on the gas, climb out of the banking, and drop down to the front straightaway. And you're always checking that rear view mirror as you come up off the corner to see if somebody snuck up to you. And then you're always looking out the front as to where the car is in front of you. And this is one of those racetracks, Tim, where you really have to look at the windshield because you come across trouble so fast.
And I think with this package, you have to look out the windshield, sure, but you kind of have to pay attention to those little mirrors that are on the side of your race car too. And not only race this racetrack, you have to race the drivers that are around you, because we've seen some drivers get a run and go to the outside. We saw it earlier with Adam and Josh, I believe, battling for that second place spot, or what would be the second place spot now is Pedro Mojica up in front. But you really have to mind where the other drivers are running. Yes, you have to race the racetrack. Yes, you can't abuse your tires and run the right rear off the thing, but you really have to race your competition as well, especially when you're in the tight pack on these restarts right now with these drivers we're seeing up here, Adam Gilliland, Pedro Mojica, not as much, but you need to really strategize and play that in as we are under 100 laps to go now, working lap number 44.
You know, as we watch these cars go around here, some of them run the exact line all the way through, and others just let the car go where it wants to be. And the difficulty for that is it's a bumpy racetrack. It's worn out. It's rough. You've got to take care of the tires, but you can hit some of those bumps and get the car unsettled like we've seen. But this is where the drivers now get to the conveyor belt. What they're trying to do is pay attention to the lap times. How much of the lap time's falling off? How is the car scrubbing the tires in the corners? Can I get a run on the car in front of me? There is a little bit of draft that plays here, Tim. When you get in behind the car in front of you, you can suck up. You're trying to get down underneath them on entry. Usually if you can get low, you can get by. The bottom line is the preferred line driving up off the corner. And now all these drivers, they're gripping the wheel, and they're trying to find every amount of grip they can on the racetrack.
And especially at this point in the run, as you mentioned, we're on lap number 46. These drivers are looking at that 60 to 65 mark. If we were to go green, they might be able to stretch it a little bit further, but that's on fuel. The tires you're going to want in a hurry. And with this being 140 laps, Kevin, I'm not sure what these drivers are going to do strategy-wise. As you see Justin Fuller on your screen, there's Josh Williams, who it's a little bit of damage. That race car had to dodge a little bit early. The 26 of Jose Gonzalez was up in the top 5 early, and now he's trying to fend off what he can. I think that's Chad Coleman in front of them in the 38 car. But you really have to set up your strategy now, because the first 30 laps, we were getting cautions every 3 or 4 laps. This is the, and again, knock on wood, longest green flag run that we've had, and now you start to think, hey, we've got a pit stop coming up. What are we going to do for tires? We got a pack the tank full of fuel. Do we short pit on the second run? What strategy do you make? And no pun intended, what bed do you buckle yourself into?
A lot of these drivers looking at this go, okay, this looks like a long green flag run. Some of them will run hard up front and then just coast the car to the end and beg for tires from the crew chief. Others will kind of back off right now. They see this run. And I always find that if you lay off in the beginning, the car really wakes up and comes at the end, and you start to drive by. And, the other dynamic that we'll see is some of these drivers are going to duck in for tires a little bit earlier. And the speed differential here, Tim, is just incredible. It's going to be a fun race to watch from the strategy standpoint.
And especially with the undercut on that second run, because last time I checked, 60, 65-ish. If you do 2 65-lap runs, you're still going to be short at the end, and 65 is on the outer reaches of doing that. You're still going to end up 10 laps short on fuel when it comes to the end. So it's going to be a strategy call here, and I think we're starting to see that play out here, because within 10, 15 laps or so, we're going to start to see the parade down as the 23 of Josh Parker works around some lap traffic, currently sitting in position number 3, a couple of cars ahead of him. But Pedro Mojica's found something on the long run. He stepped out by a half second over Adam Gilliland.
Yeah, he came through at one point and just drove away from everybody else. The car finally just got hooked up and comfortable for him, and he's in the zone. You had a feel, look at a couple of these drivers that are laps down or out of the race. Frank Peacock making his first start. Mike Kelly turned it around last week, unfortunately, from bad to worse this week. Mike Montesi, Tyler Dalton getting their early starts this race, and unfortunately they're on. How about Brian Macklin? He just can't buy any luck the last couple of weeks, Tim.
He can't, and it's one of those things where the season is going to eventually turn around. The tides are going to turn. Brian Macklin is one heck of a race car driver. He's going to be able to turn it around, but the question is when can he do that? And there's one driver on your screen right there that's had a couple of dismal and terrible races leading into this one at Atlanta, and Adam Gilliland right now running in second. He's already got the win. He's already got that in his back pocket, doing what he has to do to kind of collect some points and do what he can and keep himself relevant at the front of this field. There's another guy that's in the playoffs. He's locked himself in with a win. Josh Parker in the 23 car. He's been able to dodge the issues early and maintain a good third-place run.
Yeah, the only thing Macklin can say is he does have a win, so he's locked in. But he is 27th in points coming in here, and this is not going to help him any further. And, one more call-out is Donnie Leah. We love to see Donnie Leah come and race with us, but he's got to be happy that this isn't the real world, because he is, through no fault of his own most of the time, torn up some massive equipment here in the sim rig, and good news for him is it's just a reset. He'll be back next Monday.
Yeah, we had a lot of attrition early in this race, and when you look down the list, we started with 39 cars. The 40th car that qualified tonight, Tommy Gossett, did not register a lap or answer the call to the green. We have 27 cars still remaining on the lead lap. Nelson Rivera scored his 1 lap down. Joey Bailey is scored as 1 lap down. Joey Gattina's 4. Tommy Ryan is 7. Mick Marsky is 7. It looks like Trey Edson still on the racetrack at 8 laps down, 33rd. And then Frank Peacock, Mike Kelly, Mike Montesi, Tyler Dalton, Brian Macklin, Donnie Leah all out of the race early. So the attrition took its toll in the first 30 laps of this race, but now we're starting to see the green flag laps come in. We're starting to see some green flag running and potentially a round of pit stops coming up.
Yeah, you have to go back to Justin Fuller in 11th place to find a driver who pitted. The top 10 right now have all been out from the drop of the green. I don't think that any of those drivers, 11th, Fuller, Leary, Barham, Eric Arnold, O'Rourke, any of them changed tires. It seems like it would have been too early. But, yeah, I think at some point, if the drivers divide this up, they're going to want tires as soon as the cut allows them to go get them.
And sometimes you have to kind of take that gamble. There's the 37 of Elliott Henderson. We saw him slipping and sliding through some of the issues a little bit earlier on. Marinik to the outside of him as they battle down the back straightaway. And these drivers are hoping for tires. They're screaming for tires. There's Richard Beasley and Glenn Campbell on your screen in the 44 as they battle it out here. A little bit of damage to both of those race cars. Randy Yoakum, same song, different verse, currently running 27th. He is the final car, I believe. Scored on the lead lap at this point. There's the leader, Pedro Mojica, and he might have company before he comes to pit road because Adam Gilliland's kind of closed the gap a little bit. But we saw this earlier in the season when Pedro was leading and Adam was kind of stalking him at Homestead to try to take away that advantage. We've seen this play out before.
Yeah, last time by 32.187 for Pedro Mojica to 32.133. Not a huge marginal difference, but certainly Gilliland ticking off the laps as fast or just a skosh faster than Mojica. And, you know, I think sometimes the advantage, Tim, is when you're following a car, you're on chase mode.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of get caught in, I don't want to say in that trance, but you get caught in that mode and that rhythm of trying to catch the guy ahead of you. And we saw an incident last night in the Sim Racing Unleashed show where we explained it as you're driving down the freeway and you're kind of narrowed in or zoned in to the back bumper of that race car in front of you, and that's the only thing that you follow, and you follow in the footsteps. And in the case that we talked about last night, he ended up going into the wall following the guy in front of him. So if you're Adam Gilliland, you're kind of zoned in and got the crosshairs on that back bumper, and as I say that, he kind of works to the outside and kind of tries that second groove up there. But yeah, I think you kind of have to do that, Kevin.
Yeah, been there and done that, and I watched that broadcast and know exactly the event you're talking about. And yeah, it's kind of funny that way, but you know, the other thing that happens is you study the car in front of you, you see every fault that the driver makes. You also see when they get a good run through the corner. And sometimes that's the impetus to say, I'm going to catch them. I know that they're, you know, you hear it all the time in the real world. I know I have a faster car. Sometimes it's aerodynamics and so on. But right now, I have to say that Adam Gilliland is closing that gap. You could visibly see it. And he's just getting off the corner just a little bit better than Pedro.
And still plenty of time, and coming up on that green flag pit stop that we're going to see here in probably about 10 laps or so. You kind of maybe push Pedro a little bit further than maybe you want to, and maybe push Pedro to burn those tires up a little bit more. What's left of those tires here in Atlanta, top three have broken away, and you can see the gap all the way back. There's Adam Gilliland, and you can see what he sees and what he's trying to focus in on the back bumper of that 58 as they combine through 3 and 4 this time. They'll stay on the racetrack and complete lap 62.
Holding a pretty good wheel, the car not juking around in the corner. A lot of these drivers change their steering ratios going in here because they don't want to put a lot of input. Tends to wear the tire, and you can see from that marker, that little struggle up off the corner there is making a correction, but still running pretty well. And one of the things I've noticed is some of these drivers have moved to the top line. I'm watching Thomas O'Leary. He's running in the 6th position. Down there in 1 and 2, he's probably 1 lane off the wall. That's hard to do here in Atlanta, but it also is a comfortable way around because you're not really pressing the car so hard going through the corner there.
And there's O'Leary on your screen battling with the 38 of Chad Coleman to the inside. Haven't talked a whole lot about Chad all night, but currently up in the top 10, putting on an effort here late in this race. Maybe he conserved a little bit in that race car that we really didn't see. And there's the veteran coming out in Chad Coleman battling with Kyle Taraska. Great run so far.
Yeah, good run up out of turn 4, trying to clear the Taraska car. Always nervous when you have a car to the outside, but the good news is if you just go easy, you can hold your lane down there. Still side by side as they roll into turn number 1. They're using the banking to the best of their ability. Good down on the yellow white line exit for him, but Taraska got a great run to the outside. And yeah, this is a great scrappy little battle here between these two running side by side. Right behind him, it's the Goya special. What a good run again for Jose Gonzalez. And we know he knows how to get it done on the long run.
Absolutely, he does. He was up in front mixing it up a little bit early, and now he's starting to work his way back towards the front. Once all the calamity has come away from a little bit of this race, he's starting to let it play out and let the race come to him, as is the case with Chad Coleman right in front of him as well. There's Kevin Brown taking a look to the inside as he battles it out with the 18 of Kyle Taraska and the 26 of Jose Gonzalez in front of him. 66 laps completed this time by.
O'Leary was persistent. He was able to stay in there, was able to drive off on that top lane and secure that position. And I don't know if Chad Coleman got fatigued or just missed a mark somewhere, but O'Leary is able to clear him and making great use of that top line there. Is pretty soon we're going to get the pit stops, and we can talk about that dynamic. It's a tricky pit road to get in on, Tim. You drop off the banking, and you go through that little transition to the apron, and sometimes that can really upset the car. You end up running out the grass.
You really have to. It's just like every racetrack. You have to be aggressive getting to the line because you don't want to lose a whole lot of time on pit road, but you have to be cautiously aggressive to the point where you don't overstep that boundary, either take out that cone or speed on pit road. Look at the battle in behind the, looks like the number 11, Jimmy Coleman, and he has to have a handful with the driver in front of him. Doug Roth now moves to the outside, and that is Justin Fuller in the 51 car to the outside. He had his hands completely full at a turn number 2 that last time by. That thing is gone away on the personal comfort 51.
Yeah, what a heads-up moment for those drivers as he stepped out sideways, and they all just kind of breathed the throttle and had good awareness. As your leader, the 58 of Pedro Mojica, looking out of his windshield, he's starting to see some of those slower cars up there in front of him. He's going to get into lap traffic in short order.
Now, we were told the 1 of Bailey had come down to pit road. Byron Daly is there as well, and Adam Gilliland is disconnected from the server from P2. Not sure what happened there, but Adam Gilliland is no longer with us. That's, I don't know if he hit the wrong button or something, Pedro, or Kevin, but Pedro Mojica's leading, and now he's got no pressure from behind.
Oh, God, that's terrible. You know what? I ran a race last night, and I was 10 laps from the finish, and the server disconnected me. I was running 6. So I know the feeling. It's just so frustrating. Hopefully he'll be able to reset his rig and come back in here. But, what a terrible season for the 81.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a button he hit or something. As Thomas O'Leary comes to pit road, let's not understate the run that he's having right now in the 08, currently running second as he comes to pit road. Taraska and the 93 of Kevin Brown on pit road. We're waiting to see if Pedro Mojica throws the hand out this time, and I believe he may. The hand might be kind of forced by everybody else. He stays out on the racetrack, but I would think with the undercut, I think your hand would be kind of forced as here comes Chad Coleman.
Jose Gonzalez going to follow him in, so it's wholesale pit stop time. These drivers doing a good job so far getting in. We see the 51 of Fuller dropping in as Coleman goes into his box. With the cars spread out, it makes this first pit stop under green better because you have a lot of sight line to find your box as they line up into a fairly big box. We see Pedro Mojica off of turn number 4, going to run one more. Pedro's going to go for the long run here. If a caution comes out, he'll catch some of these folks a lap down. We'll see what happens here as he just continues in as the 43 of Roth drops off and goes to service. Might have been a little too quick there on entry, Tim.
Being told that Adam Gilliland had a 1 minute and 10-second penalty on pit road, which is why he is no longer with us in the race session. So it wasn't a disconnect. It was a issue on pit road by the sounds of it, Kevin. So we'll have to go back and take a look at that and see what happened. But nevertheless, the final couple of drivers are cycling through their pit stops, and Pedro Mojica, I believe, will cycle back to the top of the board.
Yeah, right now, Pedro, Scott Sidley, David Comstock, these drivers in your top 10 have not pitted yet as Pedro continues to circle the track. About half to 3/4 of the field have dropped off and gone to service, but your top 11 right now continue to circle the racetrack. And this is where we said, Tim, comers and goers, some of these drivers with fast tires got to be really careful that they don't run people over.
I just went back to take a look at Adam Gilliland's pit stop, and I don't know if it's something that we can look at here on the broadcast before long, but we talked about him being aggressive and trying to get to the line. He hit the cone coming onto pit road, and that was the penalty that he got as a minute and 10 seconds. That's a tough call. It was right on the line, but it's a sim-issued penalty, and that's something I don't think the SIM500 officials would be clearing. And oh boy, that's a tore-up race car in the 95 of Josh Williams. The 3 of Ryan goes to the inside, but I think that's a tough break for Adam. The struggles continue, and he's got that win, which is always good, but he hasn't had any luck to go with it.
Yeah, the 95 car is currently running 7th, but it is torn up. As you said, the first lap he was involved in over there in the grass and front and back damage as Pedro Mojica rolls across the complete lap number 77, and around him goes Josh Parker with fresh tires, and you can just see that car zap away. That's how much difference the speed is. Here is from the start-finish line to turn 3, he's already a half a straightaway ahead.
So Pedro continues to lead this field as there goes the 33 of Byron Daly to the outside. The 58 will stay on the racetrack in behind and lead another lap number 77 in the books for the 58. And I'm trying, obviously, if he's at this point now, 140 laps, 78 laps on the board, he can make it on one stop. So I think he's trying to make it comfortably on one more stop. With those cautions at the start, it's definitely helped the 58.
Yeah, this is one of those circumstances where you don't know, right? What comes around goes around. As soon as he gets fresh tires, he's going to look like Superman and drive back through these drivers as fast as he's been. Maybe he's just trying to make sure, since he's been the fastest car all night, that he's not going to get caught out with a caution here. Some of those drivers behind him, if the caution came out, would have him a lap down, and he just is not willing to risk it, perhaps, as he continues to navigate this racetrack one more time going around. And it's got to be strange for him every time he comes around turn 4 to see the driver in front of him heading to pit road.
He's going to stay on the racetrack this time, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Kevin. If he were to grab a caution right now for whatever reason the case may be, everybody's coming down into pit road. They've got 4 sets of tires in this race. Most of them with this one pit stop have already used 1 set of tires, and they would have 2 more sets of tires sitting there in the pit area. So I would think that if they got a caution now, everybody would probably be down on pit road, because now they're going to come by this time and have 60 laps to go, which is very doable on the fuel and on the tires. So we sit up here and we can criticize strategy all we want, but I think Pedro's got something here, I think.
Well, we know they can go around 60 laps is what I think is a reasonable distance. We went back green on lap 25, so somewhere between now and lap 85, he's going to turn left and head to pit road as the 12 on pit road cleared 4 tires, fuel the Verizon Scott Simley car heading back around here on the apron coming up to the racetrack. Yeah, Pedro, he's made his bed. He's going to live in it, and right now looking pretty comfortable. You know, as bad as those tires are worn, still making some pretty decent lap times.
I'm surprised, even with the cautions that we had, he's been able to go this far on fuel. That it's kind of mind-boggling to me. It's the longest run that I've seen in a Cup car this week, and Paul kind of mentioned it before we came on the air. We've gone a lot of Atlanta races, or covered a lot of Atlanta races this week, and the official series have been here as well. But here comes a whole train. This was the second place car de facto before some of the pit stops started in Thomas O'Leary. He's going to work around the leader and get his lap back. So now we're starting to see those drivers that were battling with Pedro now unlapping themselves.
30.966 was the lap speed for the number 12 of Simley. 32.524. Simley just changed all those tires, and he's running 2 seconds faster as Mojica continues to go around. Working lap number 84. He's been out front, Tim, so I don't think he saved any fuel. This has got to be the lap where he's going to come in.
Whew, and he almost got one there, but Glenn Campbell getting sideways in behind him. But 2 drivers remain on this strategy, at least in front of this field. It's Pedro Mojica and David Comstock. I believe Josh Williams and a couple of others throughout this pack might be on the same strategy, but those are the top 2 that are on the racetrack right now, and they're about to be gobbled up, or at least David Comstock will be, by Daniel Falkingham, as the 13 remains on the racetrack entering corner number 3. We'll keep an eye on him and see if he decides to peel on to pit road this time by, and indeed he will. 13 car comes to pit road to relinquish position at number 2 on the racetrack, and Pedro Mojica, at least of the leaders, Kevin, is the last driver on this strategy, and I think he's coming down right here as the 58 car slows down off of 4, and no, he stays at 1 more.
I talked to a clutch of drivers earlier, and they told me, 62, 65 laps. I think they were pulling my leg a little bit, but, as much as we're watching this Pedro story, up in front of him, what a huge battle they have going on. O'Rourke, Coleman, Fuller, Tarasca, and Thomas O'Leary. Those drivers are fighting tooth and nail in that big pack right there. This is where they cycle out, and O'Leary's still having a great run, sitting in 6th, and just putting it to him tonight.
That caution that Pedro Mojica wants with this run, he might very well get it right here, as E.J. O'Rourke was one of the latest drivers to come down pit road and get tires. He stuck it out as long as he could, and finally decided he had to come down onto pit road to get service to his race car, and trying to move through this pack, but he's got some hungry competitors right in front of him, and they continue to battle 2 and 3 wide as the 38 of Coleman goes to the inside to make it 3 with those 2 personal comfort race cars. Pedro Mojica is on pit road in the 58 car, so this will be the de facto battle for what is about position number 4 or so, as Thomas O'Leary leads his pack around.
Finally, the mystery is over. Lap 87, he ran 62 laps in that run. So we have the winner of who can stretch at the distance, as Daniel Falkingham is going to end up your leader. And this is not going to help Pedro when he first comes out, but I suspect that he'll be able to slice and dice through the field as your pole sitter left side tires going on. He watched that pack he was running with streak by, and now he's down and away. As there's a bunch of little clusters around the racetrack here of drivers in and amongst themselves as we watch what's going on.
This race has been, I think, one of the most, even though we had some green flag runs and pit strategy earlier this season, I think dynamic-wise and strategically, this has been one of the most interesting races I think we've seen all season long here at SIM500, with the early caution flags that we had in this Transervice Cup Series race, and now some strategy. These drivers that pitted at lap 70 or so, I think if you can stretch it the 70 laps, that's great, but Pedro Mojica, E.J. O'Rourke, the David Comstock machine, we know they can go the rest of the way without having to stop. No questions asked. Don't really have to save a whole lot, because you've got that 60-ish lap window there. You can play around a little bit. You can fudge a little bit of that window, Kevin, but those guys know they can make it the rest of the way if this thing stays green. Some of these others are kind of thinking in the back of their mind, and they do have tires down on pit road. We might have to come down one more time.
I look at Daniel Falkingham, our leader. Not a surprise to see him stay up where he was, running that top 5. When he qualifies up front, runs up front, he stays up front. But the other driver who always seems to emerge somehow, some way, in these round of pit stops is that second-place driver of Josh Parker. How did he get himself to that position where he came from? Where he was running 8th, 9th, 10th somewhere? you know, he got up at top 5 at some point, but now he sits comfortably in second. He's chasing down your leader coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, the 23 of Josh Barker trying to get there, and not really any pressure from behind. Byron Daly is trying to inch into that 4-second disadvantage that he has between himself and Daniel Falkingham. As you ride on board with Parker, you see the Lobster 207 car right ahead of him. Jose Gonzalez, Chad Coleman have cycled their way to 5th. Justin Fuller, Thomas O'Leary, Kyle Taraska, Kevin Brown, and Jimmy Coleman are your top 10. Pedro Mojica currently runs in 13th place through all that strategy, and we have 17 drivers remaining on the lead lap.
That shot really shows you how the 24-degree banking here in Atlanta is so steep. It's 50 to 55, maybe 60 feet wide through these corners, and you can run up high, you can run down low. But I've been to this racetrack for real one time to see a race, and there's just it doesn't translate how fast the cars go around here, Tim. They're so fast at this racetrack.
And these drivers are now on those strategies that you have to, I don't want to say manage that speed, Kevin, because that's not the right terminology, but you really have to figure out how you're going to run the second half of this race. Do you have to save anything? Is it all go? If you're a guy like Pedro Mojica right now, you got to get everything that you can, because if this thing stays green, you're not coming back down pit road. If you're one of these drivers that are up in front, you might have to short pit a little bit. You might have to figure out a strategy to get yourself to the end, and if that involves coming down and getting 4 fresh tires on your race car, you might have to very well do that to kind of make up some time. There's the strategy in this one coming to the end is going to be very intriguing.
105 laps is halfway. We're just about there as these drivers roll around. I'll tell you, Pedro Mojica, 12th right now. The cost of staying out that long on slow tires. Now the question is, how much faster is he than everybody else? If I look at his lap times, 30.933 to a 32.155 for your leader. So he is blistering. The thing about this, Tim, in this racetrack is typically when you get to a car in front of you, you can pick the low line, you can pick the high line and go around them without being unencumbered. As he comes upon the number 5 of Trey Edson, he just needs to make sure when he gets there that he picks a good line. Low line, going to cruise by, not lose any momentum. That 58 is going to be on a tear for a while here, and it'll be fun to watch him run through the pack.
But when do the tires level off? When does he get to that point where this 2.25-ish advantage that he has per lap, or a second-ish per lap, levels off? Does he get to the top 5? Does he get to the drivers in front? And oh, by the way, keep in mind, these drivers in front of him may have to save a little bit more, because Pedro doesn't have to pit. He doesn't have to come down if this thing stays green. So he's managed this race and this run a little bit better than I think some of them have in front of him. But the other guys that are going to be close, some of them are probably going to make it to the end too. It's just a matter of how much you have to save and how much you have to strategize as he passes the 43 of Doug Roth and kind of makes it look easy.
08 of Thomas O'Leary had a really nervous moment off of turn number 2. The car broke loose. He almost went out to the inside wall, went all the way into the apron to collect the cars. Having a spectacular run, but I'll tell you what, he's going to change his shorts after that one. Really close moment for Thomas O'Leary, the 4th.
And we mentioned before pit stops, understated run probably of the night so far. Yes, there has been some calamity. There has been some attrition. There has been some big names that have fallen out. But Thomas O'Leary has driven up to second place on that long run prior to green flag pit stops. So don't count out the 08 at the end of this race. There's another driver that's had kind of an up and down season, or up and down last few races. That is Justin Fuller in the 51 car. And again tonight, not having the best run that he's wanted, but still hanging out in the top 10, knocking on the door of a top 5 run. A driver trying to get everything that he can into the race car, and that race car looks a little worse for wear right now.
Mojica just slid underneath the 9th place car of Thomas O'Leary, took over that position. Still on the charge here is with, it's a good time to update your top 10. Falkingham is your leader with Josh Parker running second, 0.2 of a second back. 4 seconds back is Byron Daly. Jose Gonzalez is running in that fourth position, 7 seconds back. 9 seconds back for Justin Fuller. Kyle Tereska is 10 seconds back. Right there, a little skirmish. 11 seconds back is Tereska and Brown. Then Pedro Mojica, O'Leary, and Jimmy Coleman having a good run, sitting right outside the top 10, running 11th here tonight.
Yeah, and looking back through the field, you've got Doug Roth, Scott Simley, Jeff Ryan, Jason Barham, who had to qualify in. Both of those drivers had to qualify in through the mini heat race that we had earlier. Bobby Wetzel falling back, Jeff Ryan falling back, John Fowler, and it looks like we had one car. That might have been Jeff Ryan coming to pit road in the 3 car. So he's actually having a problem on pit road trying to find his pit box. He gets in and he gets service to his race car, but there's a driver that was on the lead lap. So now we have 17 currently sitting on the lead lap. And you mentioned Pedro Mojica. He's within 10 seconds now of the leader, just under 10 seconds. And speaking of the leader, look at this. We got a battle for the lead on our hands.
Yeah, you know, Falkingham doesn't seem to have the long-run car this season, and right now he's coming into turn number 1 under immense pressure for Josh Parker. They're going to come and split, perhaps. A lap car right in front of him, Parker down underneath this Stefan Marinick in the groove. Maybe Parker will be able to use him as a pick. Sure looks like it's going to be that way. Josh Parker, nope, Marinick's going to move up, and how about that? Falkingham's going to cover the position.
I was about to say you've got 2 kind of clashing personalities as E.J. O'Rourke on fresh tires going to try to get by here. He was on the same strategy that Pedro Mojica was, and he is now currently 1 lap down trying to unlap himself. I was going to say we have 2 kind of clashing personalities in between Daniel Falkingham and Josh Parker. They're kind of cut from the same cloth where they want to win every single time they're on the racetrack and kind of do it at all costs, but still that likable personality that you can kick back and have a laugh with. But they're on the same team. They're racing for Bill Schoonover, so there's kind of that side of it too, where you want to win the race, you want to get the win, you want to get those points, you want to lock yourself into the playoffs if you're the case of Falkingham and you haven't yet. But if you're Josh Parker, you also want to win as many races as you can because you want to get that Interstate Batteries number 23 to the front of this field. But still plenty of laps to get this thing done. 35 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, Josh Parker, sim racing veteran's been around forever. Certainly has won his accolades here. Falkingham, fast wherever he goes. I don't want to call him the young kid, but these 2, one of them wants to be the top dog. And yeah, they always seem to find themselves on the racetrack. That's what's very fun about watching this and knowing the inside game that these 2, they're not going to give each other any quarter.
No, absolutely not. And they both want to win the race as much as Byron Daly, 3 seconds back, wants to, as well as Pedro Mojica. Pedro is about to enter the top 5 as he battles with Chad Coleman in the 38 car in behind. That is, I believe that might be the 13 of David Comstock. He was on the same strategy earlier, but not on the same lap. Right now as Pedro Mojica makes one more move. We got 1 car smoking the tires coming onto pit road. We stay green, but there is Pedro Mojica. He's entered the top 5.
That was the 26 going in, the Goya car, as Jose Gonzalez, Thomas O'Leary, Stefan Marinick on pit road. And we're starting to see cycles of pit stops again. Mojica, there wasn't much of a battle driving around into that 4th position, just drove straight through. And yeah, we're going to start seeing pit stops here, and this is going to change the entire complexion of this race. Absolutely
it will. And with Pedro Mojica, we kind of beat the dead horse on it earlier. He doesn't have to come back down. And he's driving these guys down and able to pass them at will. Now, I think at this point, the tires have kind of come together. Now, mind you, Pedro was in traffic the last time, but the last time by was the 32-38 to Daniel Falkingham's 32-24, 32-33 last time registered across the stripe. So the tires have almost kind of evened out, and there's still a 9-second disadvantage that Pedro has. So if Pedro can get in front and get some clean air, he could probably still pick up a little bit of time. That time by a 32-20 to a 32-33. So instead of seconds now, Kevin, he's clicking off tenths. He's still going to get there because I think Falkingham and Parker are going to either have to save something or come down. But this is where it's kind of evened out.
If I'm Pedro, once I get to even, I'm going to hit the pit road and get 4 fresh tires. He's been fast all night long, and even if the strategy backfires a little bit, he still has an opportunity to get on the same game plan, and he's used the tires to the best of the advantages he has.
We'll see how this all shakes out. The battle for the lead continues on, and it's between teammates. If they continue to go at it, Pedro might continue to click in some time, and he's still gaining time, but he's not gaining the time as he was on the earlier onset when those tires were brand spanking new. But if they do get a caution right now, everybody comes down and it kind of negates everything. So we'll see how this shakes out and see where the caution does fall, if it does at all. As we see the 39 of Falkingham go to the lead, or check that, the 23 of Parker go to the lead off the 39 of Daniel Falkingham. Chad Coleman, we documented his run to the top 5. Kevin, he's had a connection issue. He has fallen into the server, so he is multiple laps down now. Tough break for Chad Coleman.
Yeah, about a lap or so ago, the 39 of Falkingham high off of turn number 4, opened the inside lane. The 23 sneaked alongside, came through turns 1 and 2 with a good run and just drove off, and now he sits out a little bit as EJ O'Rourke still trying to find his way, running in 11th position, 1 lap down. He just passed Falkingham, and if he can get one more spot, be on the tail end of the lead lap as we can continue to see cars on pit road. Byron Daly in the 33 down there, and the 52 of John Fowler getting service.
As is Daniel Falkingham on pit road. So the second place driver will come down to pit road. The new second place driver is Pedro Mojica in car number 58. So we'll see when Josh Parker comes down. You would have to think he doesn't want to stay out there very much longer compared to Daniel Falkingham to kind of take that undercut away. We'll keep an eye on the 23. He stays out this time by. So he'll lead lap number 113 on the racetrack. But keep an eye on him and where he pits in comparison to Falkingham, who came down a couple laps ago.
Falkingham, Brown, and Jason Barham on pit road. The 83 was running in the top 10 when he ducked off to go get his service, as Josh Parker has the 24 of Stefan Marinik driving by on fresh tires. Parker looks like he's going to run one more. That car really loose up off the corner last time. This time he runs a little higher line, not pushing it so much. And as we said on the outset, Tim, these cars really on edge up off the corner when you run them hard, especially on worn tires.
Yeah, there's really not a seam over there in 3 and 4, but he kind of looked like he got caught in one, per se, on the second groove around 3 and 4 compared to where he's been running, not really high, not really low, kind of in the middle. And right there, you can kind of see the seam in the middle of the racetrack there, and he kind of got caught in that coming at a 4 that last time by. He'll stay out on the racetrack, lead lap number 115 on the track, and Pedro Mojica about 7 seconds and change in behind, and he hasn't really gained a whole lot of time in between himself and Parker, so maybe this is the point where Pedro might be saving a little bit too.
Everybody just kind of spaced out, settling, and take a moment to say this race is being brought to you by the Transervice Cup Rookie Championship, sponsored by RacingBids.com, racing collectibles for race fans. Visit their live auctions through Facebook.com/RacingBids, and by Kong Beer Bong. Be the life of the party. Visit Kong.2drunk.net. Make the good times better. Transervice Transportation and Logistics, our premier sponsor. A history of service, a tradition of excellence. Visit them on the web at www.transervice.com. 117 laps in the books. We're closing down on the 140 mark. That is the distance for this race. Out front, Josh Parker. Big challenge. 3 wide out of turn number 4 with the 3 underneath him. That's got to make you nervous as Daniel Falkingham drives back to the lead lap.
the 3 car there in the middle of Ryan, kind of a dart without feathers, trying to keep by and make sure everybody stays off of him. And Josh Parker is just saying, you know, battle underneath me, battle around me, don't get me caught up in your mess. And now he's going to come up on Joey Gattina and put him another lap down in that heavily damaged number 14 car. But Parker can't come to pit road this time. He's forced to that outside line, so he'll stay out and lead one more lap. Pedro Mojica in second. Scott Simley scored on the lead lap in position number 3. And now Falkingham, Wetzel, and Jose Gonzalez have unlapped themselves from Josh Parker. And we have 6 currently on the lead lap.
Parker looked a little boxed in there, and through turns 1 and 2, that car yawed completely sideways, went underneath Joey Jatena, and then he had Jeff Ryan right behind him. Ryan on fresher tires, able to drive away a little bit. I don't think he's holding up, as that 23 looks awful nervous every time he comes off the corner.
Got to do what he's got to do. I don't think he can extend it 21 laps from where he hit it the last time to keep this thing green, but I think he's kind of hoping on a caution flag as he got sideways at a corner number 2 that last time by, and trying to hold on for dear life and stay on the racetrack and hope to catch a break. But with 20 laps to go this next time by, he's hoping that it comes sooner, I think, Kevin, rather than later.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, Pedro Mojica 7 seconds back from your leader, and his lap times have fallen off to the point where Josh Parker is extending his lead. So we've got different contingency racing battles going on all over the track. They're almost 4 wide going over there into turn number 3.
It's been a wild night, to say the least. There's the 33 of Byron Daly, Chad Coleman. We documented his struggles multiple laps down right now in the 38, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. There's Bobby Wetzel. We really haven't talked a whole lot about Bobby Wetzel tonight, Kevin, but he's sitting 7th place right now. So the Raging Cajun number 9 having a great top 10 run, albeit very quietly. Behind him is the leader. So that's another great one. And there's EJ O'Rourke. He's been hanging behind the leader, trying to unlap himself. He was kind of on that same strategy that Comstock and Pedro Mojica were, just really didn't play out for him very well. And Justin Fuller right in behind them. So there's some differing strategies on this racetrack, but we continue to see them all play out here in the final 20 laps of this one.
Caution on lap number 1, caution on lap number 12, caution on lap number 23, and thus far, that's it. We've run 100 laps under green flag pit stops, and the race has completely changed for these drivers. They're all running their own individual races, individual strategies, different pit stop timings, and it's one of those things where you don't know when we watch these races, Jim, like this. You can't tell how it's going to end up. You just can't.
And you can't
play out.
You can't let it play out until the checkered flag falls, or we can't make the prediction until the checkered flag falls. Josh Parker's car has gone from decent driving to evil, especially these last 5 laps, and especially off turn number 2. That thing has a mind of its own as Elliot Henderson goes by the 23 car at Josh Parker. Trey Edson right in behind, and it looks like Trey's been on pit road to get a lot of that damage repaired, but still a little bit off the pace from that lap number 1 wreck at the end of that first lap. Parker continues to lead, and it looks like Pedro is starting to narrow in on the margin. I think Pedro might have went into save mode as Glenn Campbell in the wall. A couple of drivers have to take evasive action to go around him, but I think Pedro was kind of in save mode for a couple laps, Kevin, to maybe make sure he was safe on fuel. But I think he's kind of pulled the trigger now, and he is starting to reel back in Josh Parker. He's got a long way to go and enough time to get there, and I think Josh Parker is going to have to pit at some point, but that's why we're up here.
I think the lead gapping is pretty evident. I mean, as evil as we've documented Parker's car is, if he wins or finishes in the top 5, he's been running past all these cars, just keep running underneath them. Slow cars, damaged cars, wrecked cars, and they're taking his line away. It's not like he's out front and can pick and choose, hit his marks and all of that. He's in and amongst damaged cars and cars zipping by him on the bottom, and the car is evil handling, and yet he continues to maintain a 6.5 second lead.
And the only other car I think we really have to watch here through all this strategy is Daniel Falkingham. He's been down on pit road, and he's running about a second and change faster per lap than Josh Parker is. But if Parker is able to stay on the racetrack and run this thing out, Daniel Falkingham is either going to get there or he's going to run at a time at the end of that strategy. Falkingham currently running 4th. He's going to catch Scott Simley here in the next couple of laps. He's got fresh tires on that race car. The only other thing is, if Pedro gets there to our leader, Josh Parker, does Falkingham get to Pedro Mojica? We've got 3 strategies, I think, coming together, the accordion is coming back in, but I think Daniel Falkingham may hold the wild card in this battle.
Yeah, I have to agree. As they come off of turn 4, working lap number 126, heading to 127. Just no rest for the weary here for Josh Parker. What a job he's done here. In and amongst all these cars, trying to race his way up for a win. He ducks underneath Wetzel, trying to see if he can get by him out of turn number 2 without impeding his progress. He's got E.J. O'Rourke, who's been stalking him from that 11th position, and you got to look at the dynamic of this race. E.J. O'Rourke is the first car one lap down in 11th. If you get to the end of this thing, Tim, you don't want to be the lucky dog. You want to be on the lead lap.
Yeah, if he can get a top 10 finish, though, a top 10 finish is a top 10 finish. But I think if Parker pits right now, I think he still gets a top 10 run with the amount of laps that are left. But it's hard to give up that lead position knowing that you're only 10 laps to go this time by from taking away the victory. E.J. O'Rourke hops to the inside, and he will finally unlap himself as they catch Bobby Wetzel. And I think that carrot kind of dangled in the air a little bit, Kevin, because you see the 9 of Bobby Wetzel up there. That is that top 10 run for E.J. O'Rourke if he can get here.
O'Leary's got to be happy about that. That puts him in the lucky dog position. But you know that O'Rourke is fast on a short run. And if we find a caution here toward the end, that's going to put him in the mix as Josh Parker has the 13 of Comstock ducking underneath him. The Snap Mobile Dot Shop Camaro looked a little nervous going into the corner, but I think he was just trying to make sure he was going to clear him and get his lap back.
There's the leader on the pit road. Josh Parker going to put it down to the 50 miles an hour for pit speed, and Pedro Mojica goes back up to the lead. Now, the question is, we know Pedro can make it the rest of the way on fuel with the way he ran that first run. Question is, can Daniel Falkingham catch him?
Now we can study how Mojica's car looks as he rolls through the corner. The good news for him is he has clear racetrack, unlike the 23 we saw before. That car looks smooth as glass coming up off the corner. It's got a good run to the straight, to the front straight, and I don't know, I think Pedro looks pretty good.
Holding a pretty wheel. That car still looks like it's driving well for being near the end of the run. And there is the 23 of Parker down to the inside. So Parker will fall one lap down. I don't think it'll be for long, though, because the 23 on those fresh tires will be able to gobble up the number 58 of Pedro Mojica. That's about 13th place, 12th, 13th place where he came out. He'll be able to pick up some time. I think he'll get a top 10 finish out of this one, Kevin, but it's not where he was running earlier. So the strategy didn't pan out. The luck didn't go his way. Here's Josh Parker getting his lap back, but he's going to have to hustle here in these last couple laps to try to get a top 10 run.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the 12 of Scott Sibley. He's currently running in the second position. He comes off of turn number 2. He is 8 seconds behind your leader. Does he have to pit again? I think he does.
Yeah, I believe he does. If he stays out there and is able to make it, that's a great run for Scott Simley. But Daniel Falkingham about a second in behind him. And lap time this time by for Falkingham was a 32.07 to Pedro Mojica's 32.38. It's not enough to make up 9 seconds or 8 seconds and change between himself and Pedro Mojica at the end of this. And he should be able, you can see the 39 in the picture there behind the 12. He should be able to get to Simley, but this is Pedro Mojica's race to lose as he comes by this time and sees 5 laps to go.
Falkingham doing all he can. He was right up. I mean, you couldn't have put a piece of paper between his right rear quarter panel on the wall that time off of turn number 2. He's hustling the car. If anything, he can get himself to a second place. He's got a podium finish. And how about Scott Simley? What a great run for the Verizon Ford. A good strategy call for that number 12 and a solid night.
Yeah, very solid night for Simley and trying to get it to the end of this race. The number 39 of Daniel Falkingham trying to get by him and trying to take what would be another podium run, another second place run. It's not a win unless something happens in front of him and this race goes haywire in the last 4 laps. But Daniel Falkingham, I think he played the strategy right. He just ran into a driver that had maybe a better strategy tonight.
At this point, water bottle, anything thrown out on the track. He would love to see a caution and go to green, white, checker. He's super fast on these short runs, but how about Pedro Mojica? He rolls into turn number one. He's looking right ahead of him. One car he's got to get past and clear, and he's got a little bit of open racetrack, and he's just praying to the racing gods right now. No cautions. Let this thing just run through and see if he can score himself his first victory in 2021. Takes over the point championship last week and is in the hunt to get himself his first victory of the year here at Atlanta.
We saw Josh Parker on your screen for a moment there, and we've got 2 laps to go or 3 laps to go on this one, or 2 laps. And the 23 of Parker, I don't think he's going to get to 5th place. He's currently running in position number 8. Got some traffic to get to, but there it is, clean sailing for the 23, past Kevin Brown for 7th. It's not going to be the finish that he wanted to. The strategy not playing out the way that he wanted this evening, but still a solid top 10 run considering where he is. White flag is out in the hand of Barney. Final lap for Pedro Mojica.
You have to believe that maybe Parker was looking at the trends, knows that there's usually a late race caution as drivers are running on worn tires, but tonight it wasn't to be as Mojica comes down the back straightaway for the last time. Car is on rails. He is out front with a 7-second lead, and he could probably coast to the victory here as he rolls through turns 3 and 4.
Strategy comes a-calling, and Pedro Mojica is going to answer the call at a corner number 4. Checkered flag in the wind, and he is a winner in the Transervice Cup Series. Pedro Mojica wins at Atlanta. 2nd place is going to belong to Daniel Falkingham, and he battled to the end with Scott Simley, and Simley is going to come home in 3rd. That has to be a great run for him. Byron Daly 4th, Jose Gonzalez, Justin Fuller, Josh Parker going to come up a little bit short on Fuller in position number 6, Kevin Brown, Kyle Taraska, and E.J. O'Rourke, your top 10.
Yeah, hats off to Josh Parker. What a great run he had. Had the strategy played just a little bit different, he had a really good race. Unfortunately, had to duck in right there at the end and took away his chance for a win. But it was a good strategy, and you can't take anything away from Pedro Mojica. He's the only one, I think, besides maybe Simley, that played that strategy, and he played it perfectly here tonight to get the win in Atlanta.
Indeed, he did. We'll talk to him in just a few moments' time as Pedro Mojica lights it up on the front straightaway. We saw the top 10, but there's been some attrition in this race. These drivers here, either strategy didn't go right or something not their way. Thomas O'Leary was running in the top 5 early. Hats off to him. Not the finish that probably he deserved, Kevin, but going to finish 11th. Doug Roth, Bobby Wetzel, last drivers in the lead lap back to 13th. Eric Arnold, never talked a whole lot about him this evening, 14th. Elliot Henderson, 1 lap down in 15th. Stefan Marinick, Jason Barham, Josh Williams, Joey Bailey, way to hold on to 19th after being wrecked early, and Richard Beasley is your top 20. And looking on back through that field, there's Jeff Ryan in 21st, John Fowler, David Comstock, all to 1 lap down, Jimmy Coleman 2 laps down, Randy Yoakum 3, Glenn Campbell 3, Chad Coleman 4 after the connection issue that he had, Joey Katina holds on to 28th, Tommy Ryan 29th, and Trey Edson after lap number 1 finishes in 30th. And the drivers out behind him did either not finish the race or had a bad night. Nelson Rivera, Adam Gilliland, Mike Kelly, Mick Marsky, Frank Peacock, Mike Montesi, Tyler Dalton, Brian Macklin, Donnie Leah, and Tommy Gossett did not answer the call to the green flag. That is your field or full field rundown from the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Transervice Cup Series.
Got a feel for Adam Gilliland. Wondered what his crew is thinking as Gremlin's causing problems for him once again. And I'm sure he'll be back next week when we run Bristol. Bristol next week, not dirt. We're going to run the asphalt as these drivers opting out of going to dirt, just not comfortable with it after a considerable amount of review. And we're still going to see a great race at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Indeed we are, but we have caught up with our winner, Pedro Mojica. Pedro, strategy plays out. What was going through your mind on that long run, hoping this thing stayed green?
I was hoping everybody would stay clean and not wreck each other. That was a long run, so I pretty much just took it easy and just made sure that just made sure to give everybody room who was on fresh tires and just manage my tires. So at the end of the run, I wasn't struggling too bad to finish the race. But man, yeah, it was those last 5 laps. I would say my heart was pounding a little bit harder for sure, just because everybody starts trying to push a little harder towards the end to get that extra position. And so it was really nerve-wracking, but once I saw the white flag and got that, I was fine and just had to cruise it on home. So, man, dude, I swear 9 times out of 10 when you do strategy like that, it never works out. At least it feels like that for me. And, early in the race, I messed up, made a mistake, got damaged that I think was going to hinder me from an opportunity to win straight up. So I had to do something different. And when that last yellow came out, I said, screw it. These guys, they're going to stay out. I got to do something different. That's the only way I'm going to win. And, man, thank God it worked out. It was awesome.
Well, I think we saw it at Homestead where Adam Gilliland was able to get the strategy a little bit better than you on that long run and take the win away. But now that you're on the opposite end of it and you get that victory, how relieving is it to finally get the win off the table and lock yourself into the playoffs?
Great. These type of tracks, these intermediate tracks are definitely my strong suit. So I circled them, especially beginning of the season, to try to, take advantage of that and those opportunities. And, California was where Adam was able to stretch it a few more laps than me because of the fuel. And, that one hurt for sure, just to be dominating that race the whole time. And it come down to a little bit of a strategy and just having to pit earlier than everybody else because I was leading the field. But yeah, to be on the, how they say what comes around goes around. And fortunately, I was able to take advantage of that opportunity and win this race. Probably Daniel was probably the class of the field, as the race got going after the last yellow. And, I knew the only way I was going to beat him is to do different strategy.
Now, does this change the way you go forward in this series? Obviously, we've seen you play some of those long game strategies and long run strategies, but now that you have the win, does it change the mindset going into these races, knowing that you don't have to get that win to punch that ticket into the playoffs? You can just kind of race your way and get the wins as you can?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a lot less stressful. Like now you get in these races and pretty much all you think about is trying to win, right? You want to get as many wins as you can going into the playoffs. So, now going into those races, like moves like what I did today don't feel as risky, because already, having a win, you don't have to worry about it. So if it works out, it works out and you look like a hero. If it doesn't, then, well, you already got a win in the bag, so you're fine.
Who you got in this race car? I know you got a lot of teammates that help you out and get you to the front of this field. Who makes it happen for you?
On the car, you got V Performance Academy and Tap Out Tuning. Appreciate them being on the car, and everybody else that's on the car. Michael Sharp for giving me the opportunity to race in this league on Mondays. I'm glad that I'm able to repay him back for this opportunity to showcase him and his team up front and his sponsors up front in these races. So I'm glad I can do that for him. Transervice for sponsoring the series and doing everything they do with the Cup Series. It's a really fun league to run on Monday nights. I'm glad I got to get interviewed again because I kept forgetting to mention this guy, but Trey Edson, for painting this awesome car. He did a great job painting this car. I think it looks sweet. And I appreciate him and his effort to put that work into it. And Joey and everybody and all the admins at SIM500, I appreciate everything they do to put this on and keep this rolling. And you guys, Vidane TV, doing these races to showcase it to the fans out there, and hopefully other guys on iRacing see the talented guys that are in this league and want to come over and join. And everybody on the team name, everybody in that group, man, we have a lot of fun when we do these races, and that makes it a lot easier to cope with the craziness that happens. So I appreciate those guys and the conversations we have during the races. So
there we go. Pedro Mojica is your winner here tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And One of those drivers that's on team name, Kevin, is Daniel Falkingham, and you've caught up with him. Another podium run to position number 2.
Yep, Daniel, another podium finish, runner-up tonight. 4th top 5 in 6 races. You're climbing in the points after sitting out of the season opener. But, you know, it's been a great season, but I know you're disappointed the wind eluded you here tonight.
Gavin, I don't know what we got to do, man. I think there are definitely 2 takeaways that I'm going to take away from tonight. One is I need to get better at my restarts, and 2, I need to be more confident in my pit strategy. If we would have, I contemplated pitting under that last yellow because I knew we could make it on a 1-stop from there, but after the start of the race I thought we were just going to keep wrecking, and with Pedro pitting, I thought that would burn a set of tires for him and whatnot, golly, he went on, won the race, and we went green the rest of the way. So hats off Pedro. He had the probably call of the year so far. So even with all the damage he had, so congrats to him. But very happy. Hey, another podium finish. Great points for me and Josh. Josh finished 7th or something, so great points for the team challenge and whatnot. But I mean, it's great. I mean, when we're talking to you guys, we know we had a good night. But I wish I was talking to you guys on the top step of the podium. So hopefully it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen soon. But thankfully we got some more great points tonight, and we'll move on from here.
I just have to say that I thought you played your strategy perfect, right? Who would have thought we would have run 100+ laps to end this thing out? Caution was definitely in the cards for you, but it didn't come tonight. And take nothing away from Pedro. He was really fast, had a good run tonight. But you were there. You kept him honest, Daniel.
Absolutely. I mean, Pedro, he got the pole and whatnot, so he definitely was the fastest in the race. And me and him had some good side-by-side racing at the start of the race, and we were able to get away with the lead. And like I was talking about early on in the race, the restarts I need to get better at because I mean once pretty much clean air was really king tonight because once Adam got by me, I really couldn't set up a line to get back around him just because of the multi-groove racing that we got, which honestly made the race even better tonight. I mean, I was ripping the fence in 1 and 2 pretty much the entire second half of the race and whatnot. So other than that, it was a really blast to drive tonight, honestly. Car felt pretty good once we got on a long run. The right rear was starting to wear out, so we were semi-sliding off corners and whatnot and running different lanes. It was a really fun race tonight. So we were able to work our way, run the dirty air on restarts and whatnot, but that's just the thing as the leader, especially being the leader on these mile-and-a-half tracks and whatnot. It's really hard to keep the lead and whatnot. So something I got to improve in the future. But again, congrats to Pedro on the win. He had, like I said, probably call of the year so far, and thankfully we finished second right behind him. Definitely thinking he had a really good race. Wonder where we could have been if Adam was still in the race because I guess he sped on pit road and went behind the wall for that. So really would have liked to see where we could have been had Adam not disconnected.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. This is absolutely a blast to race this racetrack. And you know what? How about Scott Simley in that race you guys had at the end? Pedro was in the wheel, but you guys were up on the wheel there trying to tussle for this second spot.
Yeah, looks like Scott was doing the same thing he did last night, doing the one-stop strategy after we went green from the final caution flag, and he almost won the race last night. So it's pretty ironic that it was me and him battling for a spot once again, except we were battling for the win last night. But this time, it took me a little bit longer to get to him, and it was right down at the end. But thankfully, we had a good race going into 3, coming to 2 to go, and thankfully I cleared him out the corner, just pretty much just blocked him into the wall so I could get the spot, because I knew it was going to be tough to hold him off because that outside is just so strong. And whatnot, the bottom really wore out after, I think, 10 laps and whatnot. After 10 laps, you were going to be right on the fence, right up on the high side. So I knew it was going to be hard to get to him because of the dirty air and whatnot. But we did have the tires, and thankfully we were able to close the gap, set up the runoff turn 2, and clear him going through 3 and 4 and whatnot. So definitely a blast to race him the last 2 nights. And but yeah, really shout out to him with P3 there. That was fun there at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Congratulations on a second place. Just real quick, give a shout out to anybody you want to say hello to here.
Yeah, I got to thank First Rate Bay Labs 207 for all they do, for all their support. Also got to thank Sean Casto for painting up this car for me. Got to thank Joey and everyone at SIM500 for all they do, for all the stuff they do for these leagues and stuff. Also got to thank everyone at Team Name, Pedro, congrats to him again on the win, Josh, Coleman, Comstock, Richard Beasley, all those guys for all the help during the race and whatnot. Also got to thank Transervice for sponsoring the series. Got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, and thanks to all the fans who come out and watch this each and every week. Definitely a good show tonight.
Second place finish tonight for Daniel Falkingham. He's going to get a win any moment now. Congratulations. We'll let you go to your crew and turn it over to Tim Terry, who's caught up with a smile in Scott Simon.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, Scott Simley comes home with position number 3 tonight. Scott, talk about that battle at the end. Daniel just mentioned that battle for the second place spot, but talk about the battle from your angle. What transpired in those final few laps?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I was trying to hold him off. I mean, I knew he had better tires, but I thought, let's just try to get this second. But couldn't hold him off, but we'll take the top 3. I really wish I would have been racing probably Pedro at the end had I probably took tires that last caution instead of just... I wanted to be off sequence. That was the main thing, but I didn't take tires. I just took fuel so I could make it on 1. But if I'd have taken tires, I probably could have been up there racing for the win possibly, but that's the way it happens, I guess.
Considering the season the way it's kind of been up and down. How much of a relief and a momentum boost is this run here tonight to finish on the podium?
Oh, it's great. It definitely gives confidence. So, car's pretty fast. It felt really good throughout the whole run. It was pretty balanced there, that last run for sure. I liked it. I thought it felt great. Just gonna hopefully can get some more top 5 finishes, and that would definitely help us out.
Pedro had kind of mentioned in his interview he had some tracks circled as to where he wants to run and where he feels like he's going to run a little bit better. Where do you see on this schedule that we could park this 12 car in victory lane?
No, I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm pretty. I mean, there's so many fast guys in here. It's really tough. So sometimes going with a strategy like that can really pay off. So it'd be nice to be locked in, but it didn't happen tonight. But hopefully we can make that work. But again, it's tough. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot of fast guys in here, and it's trying to keep up with them is difficult.
Who's on this race car? Who's on the team that you want to thank to get you to a podium run tonight?
I got to thank SIM500 and Joey and all the admins for putting this on. Nelson for painting this thing, my teammate, and Mike Kelly. Donnie Leah had some, all 3 of my teammates had bad luck tonight, but glad we were able to get something. Transervice always for, putting this up, and Vidane TV and you guys for broadcasting, of course. Couldn't do it without you, and hopefully people out there and watching enjoyed it.
It was a great run. Great to see you here on the podium, Scott. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks, man.
There you go. There's your top 3, Kevin, and a great show put on, especially at the end of the race. The strategy coming down to the end in between your top drivers trying to jockey for position. That was pretty intriguing at the end. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no doubt. Fun race. And a good first top 5 for Scott this year. And it was exciting to watch this race. I love these kind of races where you're 5 laps to go and you have absolutely no idea how it's going to end. That's just super exciting to watch.
And now we move forward. Obviously, next week we'll be back with the Transervice Cup Series here on Vidane TV as a part of the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. Paul, what else do we have this week? I know it's a little bit of a lighter week, but we got some racing on Wednesday night, I believe, with Fat Heads. We got the Tim's Corner Live Demolition Special on Thursday night, and then we've got some other stuff coming up on the weekend, I do believe. What else am I missing here?
Yeah, getting into the summer months, doing the summer light schedule here, light duty here on Vidane TV. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, pretty much what we're doing. Sim Racing Unleashed Sunday night. We've got the Tim's Corner Live coming up Monday night of next week, followed by the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. Then Wednesday nights of this week, no Tim's Corner Motorsports, but we got the Fatheads Cup Series. They're going to be in Atlanta this week, so that's going to be very exciting. And then you made mention the special episode of Tim's Corner Live this Thursday night. So lots of stuff coming up here on Vidane TV. Shoot on over to vidane.net/events to get the entire schedule of all the events throughout the 2021 racing season. And as the weather gets warmer, the racetracks are going to start opening up, and we're going to be seeing a lot of action at the real racetracks and lots of exciting things coming here for Vidane TV and the Vidane brand as a whole. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary. We're still trying to kind of work out the kinks of a 1 year anniversary show here, some sort of race. Kind of taking a back burner with a lot of stuff. We're moving studios, and that's pretty exciting. We should be in the new studio here tomorrow night, probably Wednesday night, maybe, but definitely by the end of the week. And lots of big things coming on, so make sure you stay tuned to the social media, the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, all that good stuff. And while you're there, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and give us a share. Let your friends know that you watched this thing called iRacing here and you were entertained, and that's kind of what we're here to do. We're here to entertain the masses here at Vidane TV. But that's going to wrap it up here for us tonight. For everybody at Vidane TV, I am Showtime Paul Strickland Jr., Tim Terry, Kevin England, the legends in their own rights in the booth here. And for everybody for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series, we'll catch you guys on the flip side when we do. We're going to be doing it live. Have yourselves a fantastic night.